several students rushing out of their classroom, all trying to buy food for a group of school delinquents led by Jae-sung, with Seong-hun as his right-hand man. These bullies often use weaker students as their errand runners, forcing them to do various tasks. One of their favorite games is placing bets on which student can return the fastest with their food. On top of that, these weaker students are frequently subjected to harsh bullying. After quite a long wait, one of the runners, Jung-woo, finally returns as the fastest, followed by his friend Yong-duk. Since Jae-seong had bet on Jung-woo, he wins the bet, leaving Seong-hun frustrated. Out of anger, Seong-hun takes it out on Jong-duk, the student he had bet on, and beats him up. And this is where his story begins. Welcome to Strong Underdog. After school, Jong-duk walks home with Jung-woo while watching mixed martial arts fights on his phone. He talks about wanting to become stronger so he will not get bullied anymore. Jung-woo reminds him that watching fights alone will never make them strong if they do not actually train. Later at home, Jung-woo keeps thinking about what happened earlier when Jae-seong told him to make time over the weekend. He wants to refuse but quickly realizes that it is impossible, especially since Jae-seong holds so much power at school. The next day, Jae-seong and his group gather all the weaker students and announce something shocking. Every errand boy must participate in a fighting tournament where they will face each other. As usual, the tournament is also used for betting among the bullies. Jae-seong explains that the tournament will last for a month and will begin that weekend. The students look anxious, knowing they will have to fight their own friends and win if they want to avoid becoming constant targets of bullying. At another moment, a girl named Mina is being extorted by several senior girls who are part of Jae-seong's group. Rumor has it that she transferred from another school after being bullied there as well. Not far away, Jong-woo, who is with Jong-duk, quietly notices Mina and begins to develop feelings for her. At school, Jung-woo starts trying to get closer to her, but she does not seem interested in him. That night, determined to win the tournament, Jung-woo begins training by copying moves from fighters he watches online. Without him realizing it, his younger sister Young-eun sees him practicing in his room, making her think her older brother is acting a little strange. On another day at school, Jung-woo runs into Jae-seong, who gives him a clear warning. He tells Jung-woo to win the upcoming fighting tournament, since he has already placed a bet on him. If Jung-woo wins, he will be freed from being a target of bullying. But if he loses, Jae-seong will not hesitate to beat him. Before leaving, Jae-seong also orders him to come to the park that night. That night, Jung-woo follows the order and meets Jae-seong at the park. But instead of just talking, Jae-seong suddenly tells him to fight Jong-duk, who is also there. It turns out he wants to test Jung-woo's fighting ability before the tournament begins. Jung-woo, however, cannot bring himself to fight his own friend, so he chooses to run away instead. The next day, Jae-seong punishes him for running away by beating him and reminding him not to escape again during the tournament. After school, still frustrated by everything, Jung-woo starts thinking seriously about how to become stronger. When he gets home, his father mentions that his uncle Kang-mo had stopped by earlier. Hearing that reminds Jung-woo that his uncle owns a training gym, so he immediately goes to find him. At Kang-mo's place, Jung-woo says he wants to learn how to fight so he can become stronger. Kang-mo takes him to his training center, where Jung-woo also meets Ryu, a professional trainer and Kang-mo's friend. After getting introduced, Jung-woo begins training, preparing himself for the tournament at school. When the tournament finally begins, Jung-woo is matched against Kyung-soo, a large and intimidating student who is heavily favored by those placing bets. Even so, Jung-woo does not feel afraid, since he has been training for this moment. As the fight starts, the two exchange blows, and Jung-woo initially struggles to keep up. But in the end, he uses a technique he learned during training and delivers a powerful punch that takes Kyung-soo down in a single hit, winning the match. Later, when they meet again in the school hallway, Kyung-soo admits that Jung-woo's punch was incredibly strong. He even encourages Jung-woo to keep going and win the entire tournament. After school, Jung-woo heads straight to Kang-mo's training place to continue practicing. At the same time, Jung-eun notices that he is not walking home like usual, which makes her curious. She secretly follows him, but ends up losing track of him after he turns down a different street. Later at home, she sees the bruises on his body and starts to suspect that he has been getting into fights. Jung-woo shuts her down and tells her not to interfere, even pushing her out of his room. The next day, the underground fighting tournament continues after school, this time under a bridge. Jong-duk, who is still an amateur, is matched against Seong Ryol. Despite his lack of experience, Jong-duk manages to win the fight surprisingly easily, leaving the betting students shocked. After the match, Jung-woo congratulates him and even gives him some money since he had bet on his friend. As the tournament goes on, the participants keep fighting with everything they have, desperate to avoid punishment from Jae-seong. Meanwhile, Jung-woo grows more confident in his skills. He is fully determined to win the tournament and finally break free from Jae-seong's control. Jung-woo advances to the next round and continues training with Ryu, learning new techniques. He shares his victory with both Ryu and Kang-mo, which leads to a small celebration that night. Kang-mo invites him out for a meal along with Ryu and the others. While they are talking, Jung-eun suddenly shows up and scolds Jung-woo for hanging out and drinking with older men. However, she quickly realizes that he is actually with their uncle Kang-mo, who has just returned from the restroom. Feeling embarrassed, she apologizes for causing a scene, and Kang-mo introduces her to everyone as his niece. After dinner, Jung-woo and Jung-eun walk home together. Along the way, he finally explains that he has been training at Kang-mo's gym. Hearing this, Jung-eun feels relieved and even a little happy, realizing that her brother has not been getting into random fights like she feared. On another day, Jung-woo faces another opponent in the tournament. Even after taking a hit, he manages to turn the fight around using the techniques he has learned, winning the match in a short time. Jae-seong begins to notice how much Jung-woo has improved and starts to suspect that he has been training. Jung-woo tries to hide it by pretending he has not trained at all, but Jae-seong clearly does not believe him. He orders one of his friends to fight Jung-woo, but the friend refuses. Instead, Jae-seong punishes Jung-woo by forcing him to buy food for him once again. When Jung-woo returns to school to deliver the food Jae-seong ordered, he runs into Mina. Seeing the bruises on his face from his recent fight, she quietly offers him her handkerchief. That small gesture makes him genuinely happy, especially since it comes from the girl he likes. After school, Jung-woo meets Mina again to return the handkerchief and asks if they can walk home together. As they walk, they begin to talk more comfortably. By the time they reach the bus stop, Jung-woo brings up the bullying she has been dealing with at school. Mina brushes it off calmly, saying it does not really bother her, and instead shifts the conversation to the fighting tournament Jung-woo is participating in. She mentions the rumors she has heard about him being one of the strongest fighters in the tournament, and admits that she believes it. Jung-woo feels a bit embarrassed and tries to downplay it, saying there are many others who are stronger than him. Mina then expresses her support, encouraging him to win and reminding him not to get hurt. Hearing that means a lot to him. When her bus arrives, Jung-woo says goodbye and heads home, unaware that Mina lingers for a moment, quietly watching him walk away. On another day, Jong-duk faces a much stronger opponent and ends up badly beaten. Jung-woo cannot stand seeing his friend like that and asks Jae-seong to stop the fight. But Jae-seong takes it the wrong way, thinking Jung-woo is trying to order him around. He becomes furious and even prepares to attack Jung-woo with a wooden plank. Just in time, his girlfriend steps in and stops him, reminding him that Jung-woo is still competing in the next round. Jae-seong backs off, not wanting to lose his strongest bet in the tournament. That night, Jung-woo secretly meets two students who will soon become his opponents. He suggests that they should stop blindly following Jae-seong's orders and start fighting back. However, someone secretly takes photos of their meeting and reports it to Jae-seong. Because of that, one of the students is later ambushed and beaten by Jae-seong's group, who want to know Jung-woo's plan. The student insists he knows nothing and says that Jung-woo is handling everything. In the next match, those same two students are forced to fight each other. Seeing this, Jung-woo realizes that Jae-seong has already found out about their meeting. During the fight, one of them is clearly exhausted and badly injured, yet Jae-seong refuses to stop it. The situation grows tense when the injured student suddenly fights back using a hard object, causing serious damage to his opponent. Watching this unfold, Jung-woo looks at Jae-seong with pure anger. A little later, Mina notices Jung-woo sitting alone in the school garden. He feels guilty about what happened to his two friends, especially since they got hurt because of him. That guilt slowly drains his motivation to keep training, so he decides to visit Kangmo and ask for advice. At the same time, Jung-eun has also started training in martial arts with Ryu. After a training session, Ryu sees that Jung-woo is clearly troubled. He invites him over to his place and tries to lift his spirits, encouraging him not to give up on the tournament. He reminds Jung-woo that winning is his chance to finally break free from the bullying. Ryu also opens up about his own past regret, sharing that he was unable to protect his son, who also became a victim of bullying. After that conversation, Jungwoo keeps thinking about everything Ryu said. On his way home, he is suddenly shocked to see Jung-un being harassed by a group of delinquent girls. Without hesitation, he steps in and helps her. Grateful for what he did, Jung-un thanks her older brother, and the two of them end up sitting together outside a convenience store, sharing a quiet moment before heading home. The next day, Jung-woo regains his determination and returns to training with Ryu. This time, he learns grappling techniques and how to control his opponent more effectively. After the session, Ryu reminds him not to rely too much on formal rules, since real fights do not always follow them, and sticking to them too strictly can hold him back. At school, while Jungwoo is putting away his tray in the cafeteria, Mina suddenly approaches him and invites him to hang out over the weekend. He happily accepts, unable to hide his excitement. Meanwhile, Jae-sung and his group come up with a new idea for the tournament, allowing fighters to use objects during matches. As a result, when the fights continue, the participants start bringing various items to gain an advantage. The matches become even more chaotic, but despite the growing danger, Jungwoo manages to keep winning and eventually advances to the final round. To prepare for the final match, Jungwoo continues training with Ryu, who has already heard about his upcoming date with Mina. Ryu even suggests a place that would be perfect for the two of them to visit. Not long after, as Jungwoo gets ready for the date, he asks Jung-un for advice on what to wear. When the day finally comes, Jungwoo meets Mina at the agreed location and takes her to a seaside villa owned by Ryu. They spend time together in a relaxed and happy atmosphere, and Ryu warmly welcomes them. From that point on, Jungwoo and Mina begin visiting the villa more often. The three of them grow closer, and over time, Ryu starts to see Jungwoo almost like his own son. A few days later, the final match of the underground fighting tournament finally takes place, and Jungwoo comes out as the champion. With that victory, he refuses to follow Jae-seong's orders anymore, especially since Jae-seong had promised to set him free if he won. But instead of keeping his word, Jae-seong breaks the promise, which only makes Jungwoo even more frustrated. That is when Jungwoo challenges him to a one-on-one fight. If Jungwoo wins, Jae-seong must release all the students from being used as errand runners and stop the bullying for good. The fight begins without hesitation. At first, Jae-seong feels confident. Jungwoo's movements seem slow, making it look like an easy win. But then everything changes. Jungwoo removes the weights from his legs and suddenly his movements become much faster and more agile. He easily dodges Jae-seong's attacks and starts taking control of the fight. Using the grappling techniques he learned from Ryu, Jungwoo overwhelms him and beats him down. As Jungwoo begins to lose control and continues attacking relentlessly, Ryu steps in just in time and stops him before things go too far. After that moment, the bullying at school finally comes to an end. Kangmo's training gym becomes more popular as more students, including Jungwoo's friends, start joining and learning to fight properly. At the same time, Jungwoo and Mina grow even closer. In the final scene, Mina is approached by a group of delinquent girls from her previous school. They try to mock her for transferring after being bullied. But instead of backing down, Mina stands her ground. She makes it clear that she was never a victim, but someone who fought back against bullying, which is why she had to leave. Hearing that, the girls are left speechless, watching her walk away with a quiet, confident smile. So the moral of the story is, if life bullies you, just train hard, remove your leg weights like an anime character, and suddenly you become the final boss.